guys, welcome back to my channel. So I thought I'd start this new little series where I just give you weekly recaps of everything that's been happening in the country, in the world, politically, and stuff like that. Because I know a lot of people like to stay posted with politics, but don't have the time to read articles and keep updated. So these are some big events that happened this week. I know that this is still Saturday and Sunday left this week. Well, when I upload this will be Saturday. But I'm not including anything because I'm recording it Friday. But yeah, so I realize that there's not the full week, but I just wanted to get this out. I would like to do this every week. I don't know if I will end up doing it every week. I'm gonna at least try doing it twice a month though. So let's just jump straight into the first bit of news that I found. Also, I do find all of my news off of AP News. They are a non-biased source. They're not left, they're not right. They're just in the middle. So just wanted to clarify that. So first thing I want to talk about is the whole Minnesota scam. Now this article was written December 30th. So this was written on Tuesday. So if you don't recently know what's happened in Minnesota, there was this big scam when it came to their childcare, and there was a huge, like $1 million scam that was going on. So basically, they have decided that Congress has decided they're gonna stop sending money to Minnesota temporarily for now because of this huge scam. Now, this is actually not the first time that Minnesota has experienced a huge scam. Actually, during COVID-19, there was a $300 million scam, which is insane. And it had to do with the nonprofit called, I'm looking over here, so I have the exact words, Feeding Our Future. 57 defendants were convicted during this scam. And it exploited it was state ran, but it was federally funded. It was like it was just, that's a big mess. $300 million is insane, first of all. That's just huge. So this is not the first time that Minnesota has experienced scams. And this has been something that Minnesota has talked about, how they're trying to cut down more on it, be more strict about it. That's basically what they said. And the U.S. Health and Human Services basically said that they are not sending money to Minnesota unless there's proof. There's photo evidence, receipts. Like, there has to be evidence that this money is actually going towards people who actually need it. And it's not being scammed. Like, it's going to the right places. And a quick little stat, $85 million is sent annually to Minnesota for this funding, which is a big amount. That's a huge amount of money that is being scammed. You know what I mean? Like, that, I kid you not, this is insane. So, my thoughts on this situation. Now, I will say this, I usually am more Democrat leading, tend to lean more towards Democratic views, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to side with a Republican view. I just have a tendency to lean more Democrat. Now, with that being said, this whole situation, I think, the ones who's being affected most in this situation is the people who are not going to be getting, like, childcare. It's the people who are going to be being affected by it and not getting money and funding that they need. I get it. The government has to do something because there's obviously problems going on in Minnesota. There's either corruption or there's I don't like there's some problems Minnesota got going on. So they have to figure that out, and I'm not necessarily fully against the government putting their foot down and saying, "Listen, we're stopping funding. You need proof and evidence to get money because you're wasting funds." Like, they really are. It's wasting a lot of funds, and I'm not necessarily against the whole idea of the government, being more firm about the situation, because this is the second instance where Minnesota's had a big scam. Like, a big, huge, this is not a one-time thing. Even if it is, I still think it's something that needs to be stopped and completely fixed. And, I just feel bad for the people who are going to be losing some funding because of this situation. I'm not necessarily bashing the government even against this, because I think this is insane and something has to be done. But I also just feel bad for the people, like I said, who are going to be out with funding. Now, I'm going to scroll down. The next thing that I don't want to talk about is with the National Guard. Now, this article was uploaded December 31st, so on Wednesday. Whoops. So basically, the National Guard is going to stop being deployed to Chicago, LA, and Portland, Oregon. Now, if you don't already know, the National Guard has been sent to these different locations and other cities, and most of these cities are Democrat led. Now, typically, the governor of the state has the right to deploy, the guard, the national, like the guard being sent out to, saying, hey, we need, the National Guard, there's problems here. Usually they're the ones that call the shots, not the president. And if it is the president, usually there should be some communication there between the governors. The governors should be fine with it. But the fact that, Trump's only targeting more Democrat cities and Republican cities that have just as much crime too. I just want to make that clear. There is tons of crime going on. But and we have, these cities, Chicago, LA, Portland, and yeah, so basically National Guard is going to stop being deployed there though. Now, Trump said that he wants to, he's cracking down on crime and that's why he's sending out the guard, that there's no ulterior motive. He just wants to get crime solved. I think one of the biggest issues with that is just the idea that what happens when the National Guard is gone. You know what I mean? But so yeah, he claims that the rate was down in these three cities due to the National Guard being there and how crime rates did decrease, which they did decrease in these cities. I do want to make it clear the crime rate was decreasing. Was it directly the National Guard being there? Probably, but we don't know for sure. But the crime rates were down. But Mayor Keith Wilson, he is the mayor for Portland, basically claimed that the crime rates were reduced due to local police and public safety programs becoming more strict. Like, they're just doing better, working harder. My overall thoughts on this whole, National Guard situation with, cities and stuff, I think there's more behind it. Trump's not just sending these National Guard out to it's supposedly Democratic cities, and it's only Democratic there's some Republican cities who are super super high on crime that he could probably very easily send National Guard to and have no problems because the governors, like I said, Republican, they'll probably be more open to the idea of sending National Guard there. But instead, he's sending them to Democrat cities where he knows there's going to be problems with the governors, there's going to be issues. It's like he's trying to stir the pot almost a little bit, It's just I don't what's what's new. I think one of the biggest issues with it is yes, the crime rates are decreasing, and even if it has to do, with the National Guard, which I believe it probably does, honestly. My biggest concern is what happens when the National Guard leaves. Is crime rate just gonna soar up? It's almost like a temporary fix and not a permanent fix, and I think that's where the biggest problem is. It's like, National Guard being there, of course they're gonna stop more crime, they're gonna scare more people and stuff. But what happens when the National Guard leaves? Because they can't stay there forever. Is crime rate's probably just gonna go back up. And it's like only okay, yeah, you put a band-aid on the wound, but in actuality, you need stitches. A band-aid's only gonna do so much. That's how I feel about this situation. I think it's just surface level and it's only going to help for a short period of time, and then it's just, then you're going to need more help, but it's just going to have to get another band-aid, I guess, so actually fix the real problems that are going on. But so yeah, the last thing I want to talk about is the health insurance has been increasing. This article was released January 1st. So, 2026, first article that I read in 2026. So basically, this is a big problem, and I'm gonna explain it, and then, like I said, we'll talk about it. But so enhanced tax credits help to reduce the cost of insurance for the Affordable Care Act enrollees. That sounds weird. So, the enhanced tax credit basically reduced the cost for people who were enrolled with the Affordable Care Act. Now, that expired not last night, but that expired December 31st. I can't think of the day. I was trying to think, what's the day before? December 31st at night, it expired. So, this means now that this has expired, that health costs is going to increase. Like, health insurance is going to be more expensive for millions of Americans who are, relying on these enhanced tax credits to help lower costs. It's now, since they're not implemented, it is going to increase. Now, I do want to say there was a vote. There's supposed to be a vote in the House in January that could help to, like, not like re-implement kind of things and like set something else up so that health insurance can decrease. But that's in January. We don't really know if it's going to end up passing. It probably won't, based on what I was reading in the article. They think that it more than likely it's not going to go through and nothing's going to end up happening, but there is still a chance. They've tried to do stuff since like November, I think. There was trying to come up with things and but just nothing ever really got passed, and we're in the place where we are right now. Now, people who are self-employed, small business owners, farmers, people who are not getting their health insurance through like an employer and don't qualify for Medicaid or Medicare are going to be the ones who are really going to be they're going to get affected by it. You know what I mean? Like, these people are going to be struggling with health costs. Like I said, health insurance increasing. Health insurance is already so expensive, and for it to increase, it's really going to be affecting a lot of people. And so I actually have this exact stat, so I'm going to look over here a lot so I can get it right. But so, analysis by Urban Institute and Commonwealth Fund predicts that around 4.8 million Americans will even drop health insurance. Now, this leads to so many other problems. Now, why they think this is because, like I said, health insurance is going to increase. So they think that a lot of Americans are not going to pay the amount that they're going to have to for health insurance. And 4.8 are just going to drop health insurance altogether and just say, hey, you know what, it'll be okay. When something comes up, we'll just have to, pay out of our pocket. Now, that's a whole other problem. Like, that's bad. That's not good. We don't want people to not be able to have insurance because it's ridiculously expensive. Now, my thoughts on it, I can, like, I don't know. I think that there is a problem. Insurance is so expensive and it's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much that you need insurance for. You need car insurance, health insurance. You need the people have life insurance, because that's, you know, when when you die, costs are really expensive. So you have life insurance. There's just a lot. And under health insurance is it's just so expensive. You know, it's just ridiculous, the cost for insurance to be insured. And I think it definitely is a problem. The idea, I think, would be smart if we had like a countrywide health insurance, like a universal health insurance, I guess. That would be, I think, really beneficial. I think, the arguments that it can't be done and how our country's too big to do it, I think that's just dumb. I think those are just stupid excuses. People saying how, well, it decreases, people like can't, like, it'll cause longer waiting times, it'll cause people to not be able to get what they need quicker. And I haven't seen evidence of that. In Canada, I don't think the wait times are much different than the US's. I think other countries that do have this universal health insurance don't have those problems. And I get it, America is definitely bigger than all those other countries. But I think, we have enough money. We're a very wealthy country. I think the fact that people are going to be just dropping health insurance because of the price of it is ridiculous. I think there should be something that should be done. And I don't know. I think everyone should be insured, and it's ridiculous that people are not going to be able to. And it's going to be people who are going to have to be forking out hundreds of thousands of dollars when they have a hospital visit, because it is so expensive to go to the hospital. Ambulances are expensive. Then you have the hospital room. It's insane. Like, the fees are absolutely insane. So I definitely think this is a problem that needs to be fixed and resolved. So yeah, those are all the three topics. I didn't really find any news from today. I was looking, I couldn't really find any like articles, anything really about like political stuff, and like there just really wasn't much. Yeah, so if you guys definitely want to look into the articles, all AP News, look them up. I told you the dates of them. I would definitely check them out. I think it's just best to read the whole thing in full and see all the information, because there's a lot. I did skim. I mean, I read the whole article, but I pulled out important information to give you a broad understanding of what's going on. But I definitely think it's important if you're interested and you want to know more, definitely read more into it. AP News is a valuable source. They're not, left wing, right wing. They're in the middle, so it's very easy to just understand what's going on, and then you can form your own opinions about the situations. But yeah, so that is everything that I found and wanted to talk about. Let me know if there's any political news that you guys have heard that I did not mention that has been going on recently. Definitely drop it down below. I'm really interested and I really love learning about that stuff. So definitely let me know any other news and anything, any other news sources too that you guys like to use. Drop them down below. Always looking for some new ones. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that I'll do this again next week. We'll see. Well, like I said, I'm trying to at least do it twice a month. Ultimately, I would like to do it once a week, but we'll just see how that ends up going. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and hopefully you guys were able to learn something new or take something away from this. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!